All right. I started this show out, and we got cut off, we got kicked off. And in an amazing Mark the Arcturian, he's a Boulder professor. He made this film 2012 A to Z that we started watching here. He went to my site, and clicked on this and heard me talking about his film, and hopefully we were able to record some of that. At least we got it up on some of the radio stations. And he's Mark Graham. And I'm going to skip back here a ways. We got it off of the subject, so let me go back to about where we are, what the Mayan calendar is about. We are just in the week. All we are just in the week. Just in the
Only after the last tree has been cut, the last stream has been poisoned, and the last fish has been caught, will man realize he cannot eat money.
Once upon a time, a long time ago, in a galaxy that never was and always is, so close it is always with you, a race of human beings, much like ourselves, indigenous to Central America, left a message for future generations they knew we would never believe, because neither did they. Now, we are considered, remember we talked the other day, this is the Benjamin Graham Foundation, House of the Risen Sun, beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning.
Impossible to tell from that statement, isn't it? All things are cyclical. Isn't the end of one thing always the beginning of another? Now, a lot of what you're going to hear will appear new, although I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, just some things maybe you haven't remembered yet. So during this presentation, I'm going to ask you, please don't believe a word I'm saying, but I'm also asking you don't believe anything anyone else has ever told you either, including this. You see, even if not one word of this is true, it still may be the greatest science fiction fairy tale ever written, which of course begins once upon a time. Now, never believe stories which start once upon a time. Sorry. Always believe stories that start once upon a time there was a princess, once upon a long time ago. In a galaxy not far away from where you are right now, our story begins over 5,000 years ago, 3114 BC, before Christ, in a little country then called Tikal, Mexico, now known as Guatemala, where some Mayans, some fellow human beings, indigenous to Central America, left a message which they felt important enough to carve in stone for future generations. Well, at the same time, they had to know the greater propensity would be that they would never believe them. And nobody believed Noah, right? And as evidence, they knew what they were talking about. along with their messages for people 5,000 years in the future, with their Hallmark card, they also included this calendar, suitable for framing. A small side note, this is the Aztec stone, a 24-ton adaptation of the Mayan calendar, which was unearthed in Mexico in the 1700s. And it's the world's longest calendar, from the beginning of written history in 3000 BC for 5,125.36 years. When you see a number like this or something related to this Mayan calendar long count cycle, I want you to hear that sound in your head. The start date, the second recorded event in human history, is the start date of the Mayan calendar, August 11/31/14 BC. Fast forward 5,125.36 years. I'm sure most of you know that this longest calendar ends in 33 days from now. December 12th, 12/21/12, winter solstice. Now, what baffles scientists to this day is it's not only the world's longest calendar, it's also a map, a star chart, which precisely charts the motion of every celestial body in the galaxy for 5,125.36 years. Cha-ching! Right down to the precession of the equinoxes, an almost 26,000-year cycle, as Earth wobbles 23.5 degrees on her axis while she is in her elliptical orbit, almost 26,000 years. Now, the Mayan long count calendar, 5,125.36 years, is based on the precession of the equinoxes. How many long count calendars fit in a precession? How many 5,000-year cycles fit in a 25,000-year cycles? Did you say about 5? Or exactly 5? 5 Mayan cycles. The last one started in 23,000 BC. And to the Mayans, this great cycle, almost 26,000 years, was like one day. And the first 5,000 would start at 6 in the morning. The first 5,000 years would be morning, midday, afternoon, nighttime, and of course then late night or pre-dawn. The Mayans knew this. The universe is setting the countdown. A rare solar eclipse alignment will happen between the Earth, the Sun, and our central sun, Alcyon.
In the
Pleiades constellation takes 5 Mayan cycles to rotate around our central sun. Our central sun also rotates around the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the galactic sun of the Milky Way galaxy, Sirius. But for now, we better find the brightest star in the Pleiadian system and find out our central sun. Who knew we had a central sun? This isn't taught yet in schools. Now, to find the brightest star in the Pleiadian system, look for Orion's belt, those 3 stars in a row, Orion's belt, hang a right. There you have the Pleiades. On the other side, Sirius, the dog star. The Pleiadian system, which is way over here, would be better known to stargazers as the 7 sisters, or to ancient customs, the brother with 7 sisters-in-law. Here's Alcyon, our central sun, which our solar system rotates around every 25,860 years. What you know, it's exactly 5 Mayan cycles long of 25,627. There's our solar system going around Alcyon, orbits every 25,627. Now this would be considered one day, one galactic day. Our solar system in relation to our sun. If you're in New York and you go to the other side and then you come back again to where you started, that's one day, isn't it? So the Mayans called this one galactic day of 25,627 years as our sun, with us in tow, orbited Alcyon. Now, a 26,000 year day, you could divide that into 13,000 years of day, followed by 13,000 years of night, couldn't you? That would be all fine and dandy. Anyone want to guess which one we're coming out of right now? Which one humanity's coming out of right now? Waking or sleeping? Sleeping. Henceforth, the term waking up. Consciousness is waking up. Now, that would be fine, except for this white band in the middle. Now, the Mayans knew this as a time of no time. In this big giant clock, and for a little while, twice a cycle at 12 and noon, our solar system would go through this band, which would be 22,000 years of day, with 11,000 years of night in between. This photon belt, Professor Paul Otto Hess defined it as an energy ring of incredible size, 760,000 billion miles wide, and intense electromagnetic radiation, and due to intersect our Earth any day now. An astrophysicist, Alexei Dmitriev, says that both Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 satellites reveal that our sun, as well as our entire solar system, is now moving into some interstellar energy cloud, thereby verifying what we've known for hundreds or thousands of years, that every so often humanity goes through a couple thousand years, an age of enlightenment. Voyager 1 and 2 have been out in space for 25 years since 1987, taking the picture of what looks like in front as we're rotating through the galaxy. And they found this interstellar cloud, this photon belt, which goes up and down compared to our elliptical orbit. It's perpendicular to our orbit. Alcyon in the center, our solar system around the outside, would intersect this donut at 6 o'clock and then again at 12 o'clock. And we're about to come up to 6 o'clock in the morning, brand new day. We're about to be waking up. How on earth did the Mayans know this? See, they had 2,000 years, which I'm going to say is an astrological age of 2160, 2150, or half a Mayan cycle. They said that in that time, Kinikahau, that's our sun, Kinikahau receives a spark from his older brother in the center and shines very brightly. This, of course, clearly pointing to our central sun, Alcyon, or perhaps even Sirius, the great central sun of the Milky Way galaxy, or both. Now let's take a look. Here we have instant photon belt, and as you see it goes perpendicular to our orbit. When asked how long it would take our sun to pass through this interstellar energy cloud, Alexei Dmitriev replied, I don't know, but if I had to guess, I'd say somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 years. Cha-ching. Verifying. Everybody wants proof, right? Everybody wants proof. Well, pretty soon they'll have all the proof they need. Unfortunately, it'll be a day too late. So the Pleiadian system, our central sun, Alcyon. Who knew we had a central sun named Alcyon? Okay, out-orbits our greater central sun of the Milky Way galaxy, which completes its 225 million year orbit around the Milky Way center on this year. So whatever's happening is very special. Sirius, the dog star, 23 times brighter than the pole star. 225 million years to go around the center of the Milky Way galaxy, Sirius, with Alcyon in tow and us and our solar system following along. Oh, totally. Oh, I'm totally serious. Let's pull that back to what that looks like from outside. Our sun, 1 million light years away, is it's just cosmic dust. It does not become the brightest star till 1 light year.
Right now, he's giving us
demonstrating our precession of the equinoxes and why the Earth wobbles the way it does, 23.5 degrees towards the great central sun, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, or away from it, depending on which is above or below the galactic equator. So not only do we rotate in a circle, we have an orbit which goes up and down. Then we have a pull. Now we don't have a pull. Now you'll see when it's in the center, it's straight up and down. There's no magnetics on either side. Keep this in mind. This is extremely important. Okay, so right there,
12,960 years.
Crosses the center of the Milky Way equator. As you can see, it's actually going to be going down. This is our elliptical orbit. And 25,627 years ago, when we were that direction.
Ancient scholars who observed the precession of the equinox provided a simpler explanation than a wobbling Earth. They said that our sun curves through space, moving in a great orbit of its own, pulling the Earth and other planets along with it.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true. This is a correct picture of our orbits from a top-down view. But since the sun is traveling, let's turn it on sideways. Let's give it a three-dimensional view to watch the orbit of our sun on a vertical motion. It's called a helical orbit. Our sun's traveling through the galaxy at an incredible 132 miles per second, or 482,000 miles an hour, which means we travel 11 million miles a day, whether you're awake or asleep. Here's Voyager 1 and 2, and
how's that
out
for
at
fast?
our heliosphere is our sun
Million miles
through the
a
galaxy
day.
at a blistering 482,000 miles per hour. It's 11 million miles a day we travel. We all know we spin and we go, but in 1 year, at that velocity, awake or asleep, we travel 4,222,000,000 miles a year. That's what I call a mothership. We're already on the mothership.
We all live in a helical solar system. If this term sounds new, you're not alone. Most people don't know what it means. This video is an opportunity for you to learn that the helical solar system is where we all live. It will help you understand what a helical solar system is and show you how it moves. We live on planet Earth, one of the 8 planets revolving around a star we call the Sun. The Sun is one of millions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. During the 20th century, astronomers discovered that the Sun itself is revolving around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Sun's velocity as it orbits the galaxy is currently calculated at 134 miles per second, or 482,000 miles per hour, a very substantial velocity. For centuries, we've been taught that the planets of the solar system move in flat orbits in a plane called the ecliptic, with the Sun at its center. All of that is still true, except for the term flat orbits. Because the Sun moves, no planet can follow a flat orbit. To keep pace with the Sun, it has to move in a spiral, or a helix, as the astronomers call it. Here we can begin to see the helical paths of each of the 4 inner planets, as the Sun and planets move away from the camera. So by focusing on them, we can best demonstrate how helical orbits fit around the Sun. Moving outward from the Sun, we see Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. We can also see that the planets closer to the Sun have to move faster than those farther out.
not most, but more humans than not have heard about 2012. Some reference. The Mayan calendar, the last day, also marks, but within 31 days of now, virtually every human being alive on planet Earth will know that that means the world will end. The sky is falling. Which, of course, is preposterous. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Not one prophecy, scripture, piece of writing ever says the end of the world. Not one. It's nowhere. Chicken Little. It certainly doesn't say it in any Mayan prophecy. It's not in the biblical prophecy, not in any Indian prophecy, not in the Quran. Never says the end of the world. I'm a standing offer for anyone to show me any prophecy, any writing that says it's going to be the end of the world. It doesn't exist. This world that we live on, this third rock from the sun, is exactly that. A big, giant rock. It's not going anywhere. There's only one prophecy, to my knowledge, which even correctly uses the phrase.
Alright, Mark Graham. You're listening to Mark Graham right here, who actually heard this. Now, keep in mind, folks, that this was sent to me, this film that I have linked to my show, was sent to me by one of my guests that were on yesterday, Grandma, B.K. Durham. She sent that to me. I got a phone call from the guest I had scheduled. That was Gordon Duff. I got a email, Skype from Gordon Duff that said, I'm going to be in the dentist office. Here's my wife's phone here. I'm going to be in the dentist office tomorrow. The appointment is exactly when we were supposed to do the show. I said, don't worry about it, I'll find something else. And so I got up early this morning and clicked on this and found this to be so interesting because A, it backs up what I've told you, that the Mayans 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 years ago were part of the advanced Atlantean civilization, and they had been to the stars. They knew what the stars were. They knew what this wasn't a bunch of Indians looking up at the sky. I told you about that, and I wrote articles about it. I wrote stories about it. I wrote short stories and novels that will be out this next year about this exact thing, the conjunction, the planets passing, and everything that was happening. I wrote about it years ago, 45 years ago. And I decided to do this. I found this yesterday, last night, this morning. I got up and decided I would play this clip on my show today to reassure you that 12/21 ain't the end of the world, and we did it on, decided to do this, had this open up on 12/12/12. 12/12/12 is the day this show was recorded. And this man that made this film called me up. Called me up on the show while I was doing the show and said, this is Mark the Ark. I'm honored that you're playing my show. I find this to be way beyond the bounds of synchronicity. I think this is God giving me the information, making this show today, and to tell you that there's nothing to be afraid of here. They want you to be afraid. They've tried to block this show because they want you to be afraid. They succeeded in blocking it some places. Some places we got disconnected, couldn't hook back up again. But before the end of the day, it'll all be up. This show will be up. And folks, this is why I asked for help for you, because I understand what's going on, and I've tried to put this show together by myself to make this all work for you, so you get some information, so you don't have to be afraid. Now, I've told you too, you can prepare. You can start growing plants in your back room, in your garage, in your wherever. Put up grow lights. You can do this on your own. You don't need the government. You don't need the informers. You don't need the organizations. You can do that and you do it by passing on information like this to your local people, your neighbors, your family. You can beat these people. And it ain't just about the Jews. I think the Jews are to be listening to me too. And as a matter of fact, let me end this up. Let me end this up with the words of a Jew. The White House referred to Christmas tree as holiday trees, which prompted a CBS presenter, Ben Stein, to send this. And I want to end my show with this. My confession, I am a Jew, and every single one of my ancestors was Jewish. This is Ben Stein talking. It does not bother me even a little bit when people call those beautiful lit up bejeweled trees Christmas trees. I don't feel threatened. I don't feel discriminated against. That's what they are, Christmas trees. It doesn't bother me a bit when people say Merry Christmas to me. I don't think they're sliding me or getting ready to put me in a ghetto. In fact, I kind of like it. It shows we are all brothers and sisters celebrating this happy time of the year. It doesn't bother me at all that there's a manger scene on display at a key intersection near my beach house in Malibu. If people want a crib, it's just as fine with me as the menorah a few hundred yards away. I don't like getting pushed around for being a Jew. I don't think Christians like getting pushed around for being Christians. I think people who believe in God are sick and tired of getting pushed around, period. I have no idea where the concept came from that America is an explicitly atheist country. I can't find it in the Constitution, and I don't like it being shoved down my throat. Or maybe I can put it another way. Where did the idea come from that we should worship celebrities and we aren't allowed to worship God? I guess it's a sign I'm getting old too, but there's a lot of us who are wondering where these celebrities came from and where the America we knew went to. In light of the many jokes we send to one another for a laugh, this is a little different. This is not intended to be a joke. It's not funny. It's intended to get you thinking. Billy Graham's daughter was interviewed on the early show, and Jane Clayson asked her, how could God let something like this happen regarding Hurricane Katrina? Anne Graham gave an extremely profound and insightful response. She said, I believe God is deeply saddened by this, just as we all are, but for years we've been telling God to get out of our schools, to get out of our government, and to get out of our lives, and being the gentleman he is, I believe he's calmly backed out. How can we expect God to give us his blessing and his protection if we demand he leave us alone? In light of recent events, in terrorist attacks, school shootings, etc., I don't think even Madalyn Murray O'Hara, she was murdered, her body found a few years ago, complained.